Hello and welcome back to the Activation Phase podcast. I'm Tim and I'm joined by
JP here.
Perfect as always, JP. So, today we're doing the last episode for the Age of Hannibal's normal factions, and that would be Carthage. And since I don't know a lot, like in general, JP, could you give us like a short history lesson on the Carthaginians?
They started off as a colony from the Phoenicians, and then they kind of grew into a larger and larger city, and they started kind of swing their weight around in the Mediterranean, pushing people around, and got some colonies, Spain, Sicily, etc. And then they kind of got into contact with the Romans, and that's where this whole kerfuffle kind of went down, and that's why they're fighting with Rome. And spoiler alert, in the end, Carthage lost.
Spoilers. So I feel like the whole history lesson thing was way more interesting in the Dark Age, like in the Age of Invasions books. I feel like you had so much more knowledge there. What happened, man? What happened?
Yeah, it's less invested in the ancient world than
makes sense
than the early Dark Ages. So anyway,
but
should we hit up the special rules already?
Yes, please.
So this one's a little bit of a weird one because you have multiple choices that you can make in terms of what you can choose, and then also the kind of the status of your little guys. So you can. I'm not entirely sure how to describe this, but basically, I'm going to follow the wording from the book itself. So
yes,
there's several components that you can choose. So you can have troops from the city itself, or your colonies, and these are called citizens. This is relevant for certain battle board abilities. So some abilities you can have kind of like two effects, one for citizens and one for the next. The contingents. So the contingents are essentially troops that are hired by Carthage as mercenaries, because they were very famous for essentially just having a large chunk of their army made up of mercenaries. So this kind of like is a fluffy choice on their part. And then you kind of have a third option, the levies, which nobody wants to be associated with, and they don't count either as citizens or contingents. So you need to take at least one unit of citizens on top of your warlord, who obviously counts as a citizen himself.
Yeah.
So the rest of the time you can just kind of mix and match as long as you meet that minimum criteria. All right, Carthage has a special unit type, so that's the heavy chariot. And by 2 chariots per point, so I guess the same as normal chariots. And you can have a unit of 2 to 6 chariots. So they create a normal Saga dice. They have armor 5 in melee and against shooting, so they're pretty resilient. And then they have an aggression of 6 when they charge, and 2 if they are the defender. And they don't have any shooting attacks. They have an extra special rule. So if a unit of chariots charges, it inflicts automatic hit on the enemy unit for each chariot in the unit. So these are just on top of your normal attack dice.
An army of Carthage can have a single unit of heavy chariots, but then they can't have elephants.
I think that's probably a good time to move to the unit selection itself. So this one's super long. So as I said earlier, it's split up in terms of citizens. So we'll start off with the citizens themselves.
Yeah.
So that's just your warlord. He has to be on a horse. Standard, no special rules there. And then Hearthguards can either be on foot or mounted with no special equipment. The warriors are just your standard warriors with no special equipment, and you can choose an elephant or a heavy chariot. And the elephants are just the standard rules there.
Yes.
So if you want to choose some contingent troops, you essentially only have a choice of warriors in 3 different flavors. So you have your standard warriors with no special equipment on foot. You have mounted warriors with no special equipment. And then finally, you have your final one, the mounted warriors with javelins. And then obviously they take the armor penalty. And then finally, the third type of troops are the levies. So they have no affiliation. And you can either take levies with javelins or levies with bows or slings. All right, that was quite a list.
And I think in the faction rules text above, it says if you buy like 5 points of warriors, you can at the point of setup decide if they're like what equipment they have and if they're contingent or citizen. Your warband's very, very flexible towards being like only warriors with javelins on horse, or that would be contingent, and then or only warriors just with sword on board, and that could be citizen or contingent. I think there's a lot of flexibility even after you've written your army list down with with Carthage. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, so you just have to bring about 100 different models with you each time you play if you want to fully maximize out
absolutely
the opportunities here. So
if you're not bringing that many models, are you even trying?
Should we move on to the battle board?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you wanna start us off as always? I think this one might even be interesting.
Basic abilities are a little bit different for this board, where you would have your Hearthguard, your heroes. They are just called Carthaginians, and here you activate a unit of citizens. So that's using all 3 dice facings. Where normally the warriors would be, so that's your common and your rare dice. You can activate auxiliaries. So those counts as being contingents or mercenary units. And then finally, where your levy would be, it's just your levies, and they're called allies. Finally, the combat bonus, there's nothing special there, all the usual options, and then you have your activation pool. So I think this is, except for the Iberians, this is probably the only one that has a different basic ability setup in Age of Hannibal.
Let's get into the first advanced Saga ability. It's called, this is going to be tough. Student of Xanthipus, maybe? Yeah, probably. It's an orders or orders reaction, and it takes a common and an uncommon die. Until the end of the turn, all friendly units fighting in melee within medium of your warlord can modify the results of up to 2 dice by +1 each. If the unit is the attacker, these must be the attack dice. If the unit is the defender, it needs to be the defense dice. And then apply the bonus after you have rolled the dice. So if you know you're going to be like defending a lot and you know you can close ranks, then like even if you roll like 2 3s, you can make those 4s and then they count as saves. Or if you know you can't close ranks, then if you roll 4s, then you can make those count as hits. And which I think is very interesting. If you play that when you're trying to attack a lot, this is going to be very, very powerful with like javelins, because then your opponent, even if he gets to armor 6, you can still hit them on a 4 on your dice, because you get the +1 from the javelin, and then you can put two of your dice, give them a +1 as well. So I think this is a good ability, but it's also very expensive.
That's pretty expensive, but you're not limited to just one. So if you think you're going to get charged a bunch of times, like you said, then
yeah,
sure.
And this is, if you play into Iberians, this is devastating for them, because you're going to be so much more survivable than them, and they're going to attack you on your turn. So you get so much value out of this ability, because you're going to attack a lot and you're going to get attacked a lot. So this is, if you want to crush Iberians, this is the way.
Pro tip. All right. Very nice. Okay, so the next one is delay. So you can use each of the dice facings for this one, and it's an activation reaction. So trigger this ability after an enemy unit with at least 1 fatigue has been activated, but before the resolution of that activation. Cancel the unit's activation. If you used a rare, they cannot activate at all this turn. I think this one's pretty tasty. One note is that you can't actually easily put fatigue on your opponent with this battle board. So that's maybe one downside of this ability, but I think it's always nice to be able to control the movement of your opponent, especially putting that rare on there. Just completely can shut down like a hammer unit for a turn. So that makes it pretty sneaky. However, you do need to put a fatigue somehow on their units. So if they keep their units fresh, maybe that's a little bit of an issue.
I feel like this one's very, very powerful, like a staple of the Carthaginian way to fight. Because if they send in like a small unit of like levies or contingent into a important unit of their opponent, then the opponent's gonna have a fatigue, and then you can just deny them to use that unit for a whole turn through a rare on here. So by losing some of your guys, maybe 6 levies or like 4 warriors on with javelins on horses, they might even do stuff, but probably not. you can like deny a 12 stack or like of warriors or like an 8 stack of Hearthguard a full turn of doing stuff, and that's obviously always very good. So I feel like this can be used very aggressively because when they activate, that also means they activate for rest. They can't even rest to get back out of the whole situation. So if you do it once to a unit, then you can, if you do it right, you can keep them there for the whole game if you want to.
Yeah, so that's pretty nasty. So it's a little bit like the Pagan Rust abilities.
Yeah.
So it's same vibe, slightly different wording. But yeah, that's it's pretty. It's annoying in any aspect, and it can kind of mess up your game plan. Even for a common, it's good.
Yeah, for sure. And if you know that, because if there's some armies are gonna have big blocks like the Gauls have, I think, and the Iberians have, and just taking one of those big blocks out, there's usually only 2 or 3 of those running around. That's just so annoying. So this is definitely a good one. Next up is Sacred Band. It's a melee ability that takes an uncommon. Your opponent must reroll 1 successful defense die or 3 dice if your unit is made up of citizens. So, obviously, very good if you use this with your heavy chariots, for example, because they're going to do lots of damage when you charge in. So, and the auto hits and everything. So and they're citizens. So making your opponent reroll 3 of their defense dice is great. And I don't think this is going to be super worth it on the contingent units. So not a big fan of that, but yeah, on the citizen unit, like the elephant, also great. Heavy chariot, also great. This is where this ability shines, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Also, if you're charging your warlord, he becomes a little bit of a beat stick there as well. So because he counts as a citizen, so it's good. All right. So the next one is encirclement. So this is using either a uncommon or a rare. An activation. So activate 2 units for a move or a charge activation, or up to 3 units if they are all elephants and or have the mounts horses special rule. So this is kind of where I think we in the Numidian episode we said that you should play Numidians as Carthaginians. So I think this is probably what we were referencing. Like those few weeks or several episodes ago. So this is pretty sweet. Also, elephants. If you want to max out on 3 units of elephants, that's pretty sweet. I don't know how viable that is, but it does look pretty cool.
Like, this is just such a good multi-activation. It's very juicy. It's a way better version of the Numidian board version, in my opinion. All right.
Yeah, I mean, just for an uncommon, it's just like a no-brainer, to be honest.
For sure. So, yeah. And there's good places here to put rares, so no need to waste your rare here. There's definitely better places to put a rare. All right, next up is Eagle Eye. You can put any die facing here. It's a shooting ability. Gain 2 attack dice, or 4 if you use a rare. Your target cannot benefit from cover during this shooting attack. So this is good if you have the right units for it, I think, because you have to have a unit that like generates for maybe more than just like 8 warriors that would generate 4 attack dice themselves. Maybe a full like 12 stacks of warriors, or maybe a big 12-man levy unit to get some value out of this. I'm not sure if the rare is going to be worth it on here, but the common or the uncommon is going to be good, because if you shoot into a ruin or a rocky ground, this is going to be very annoying, because then they don't benefit from cover at all, so they don't get the better save, they don't get the better armor. So that's gonna hurt really bad, and it's just for like a common. So if you have a 12 stack of contingent warriors with javelins on their horses running up to a ruin or something, they're gonna throw a solid 8 or 10 shots without any cover bonuses for the opponent. That's going to put some hurt into some enemy units. I think this can be played. This can be good if you play the right army for it.
Yeah, this like a unit in rocky ground or ruins is just such a pain. So
yes,
like this is like it's normally one of the first terrain pieces which gets put on the board. So if you can kind of mitigate a little bit with that, it's super good. Also for common, super efficient. you get extra dice, and you get a really, really good bonus. I think it's, even for a common, I would just play it, even if it just had the bonus on removing
Yes.
removing the benefits of
Yes.
cover. So
Yeah,
this is such a good ability.
It's a steal. To be honest.
All right.
Yeah.
Blood Price is the next one. So this is
Ooh.
using an uncommon. So this is a melee or a shooting reaction for citizens only. Remove a figure from a friendly unit within M to cancel a casualty suffered by your unit, or up to 2 figures cancelling a casualty each if you remove the figures from a contingent unit. So I think that's you can't remove levies because they don't count as contingent units. So you can't, unfortunately, you can't do that. Good. I guess you'd probably use it on your Hearthguard. And then how would this work on your Warlord? I guess you could cancel the last wound he takes, right?
Yes. Yeah. You can cancel that twice if you want to.
Yeah. So it's pretty solid. But you will be losing guys, but you can kind of control where you're losing them from. So you're taking Hearthguard is probably worth the trade.
And yeah, you can cancel one Hearthguard for one. Like you can take out one levy if you want to for one Hearthguard. You just can't do it twice because the levies aren't contingent.
Oh yeah. So
But
that's true,
yeah. So you can take two contingent warriors out to save 2 Hearthguard, or just one levy to like save 1 Hearthguard or something. It's possible.
It's still totally worth it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's always going to be worth it because an uncommon. I feel like the abilities on here are very good, and just sometimes I'm not sure if it's going to be worth it to save 1 Hearthguard. Just one, like it's definitely going to be just one, unless you're gonna give away your contingent stuff, and I don't know, saving 2 Hearthguard for 2 warriors is still like losing 1 Hearthguard anyway. So I'm not super sure if this is always going to be worth it. But I mean, sometimes maybe if they're in an important unit, then you can definitely like keep them alive, like your Warlord, or maybe last 2 Hearthguard or something.
Yeah, or for what is it, conquest points or something like that.
Yes.
That might be worth it.
Yes. All right. Next up is Combined Tactics. It's a melee ability that takes 2 common dice. If unit is composed of citizens, remove 1 of its fatigues. If unit is a contingent unit, inflict a fatigue on your opponent. So I think this is very expensive because there's definitely good abilities on here that just take a common. So putting 2 commons on the same ability is tough, and I'm not convinced this is a great ability. Because removing 1 of your fatigues, cool. Of course, that's cool and all, but it's not gonna be a major shift in most fights. And then inflicting a fatigue is cool and everything, but that's also not gonna be like the craziest change for 2 commons, because then you're gonna miss out on other abilities or just attack dice. So this might be situational and sometimes good if you know you can put 2 fatigues on a unit with this fight, and then maybe have an enemy unit be fatigued when you want to charge a new Warlord or your Hearthguard or something, so nothing happens to them. I get that, but I'm not super sure this is going to be worth it in most games, and definitely not at all in most turns. So
yeah, sure.
What do you think?
Probably I could see it being useful for a contingent charging a Warlord or something, because then it is worthwhile putting extra fatigue.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean the 2 dice. This is the only. Actually, no. This is one of the two dice abilities.
Yeah, just to mention it, this is of course a way to keep your Warlord alive if you want to, because taking a fatigue away from him is just gonna heal him up again, basically. And this also applies to elephants, which a fatigue on them is kind of important because that they have resilience too. And this also applies to heavy chariots. So you can use this to kind of keep your resilience type units alive if you want to use it that way, kind of defensively.
Yep, that's pretty good. Pretty good. Not the best, but definitely worth consideration.
Yes.
All right. So the next one is Coordination. This is using a rare, and it's a melee ability. So if your unit is a citizen unit, each attack dice that rolls a 6 or more inflicts 2 hits instead of 1. If your unit is a contingent unit, each defense dice that rolls a 6 or more cancels 2 hits instead of 1. All right, I'm not sure how you can roll a 6 or more on the defense dice. I guess if you use Student of Xanthopus to
Yes.
boost yourself for some
Yes.
reason.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why you would do that, but okay. But sure, I guess they're covering all the bases. Otherwise, they'd have to write.
And you can definitely charge a unit that's unarmed, and then you also get +1 to your save, right? So
yeah,
rolling a
that's true.
6 there would also be a 7, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And that's. Are there any unarmed units in Age of Hannibal?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's you can still charge like a card or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But you can't use Saga abilities. I know that, but yeah.
All right,
But
edge
there has to be
case.
some
Who knows?
unarmed
Maybe
stuff, right?
something
Yeah,
in the
it doesn't
future.
matter. It doesn't matter.
It's
Yeah.
future proofing the board. Anyway, yeah, for a rare, yes, I guess. There aren't that many rare abilities or rare dice that you need to put down specifically for this.
I think this can be good on like elephants if they get +1 because they're charging into horses or something. This is good on the heavy chariots because if you have like 3 heavy chariots, which is 6 Hearthguard, they will generate 16 attack dice and have like 3 auto hits. But like yeah, on the 16 attack dice, you're gonna have hopefully a few 6s, maybe like 3, maybe 2, something around that. And yeah, on the defense dice, this can be so good on the contingent warriors with no equipment. They're gonna live through everything, and even on the horses or horses with javelins, just having those extra defense dice is like extra saves. I've played that, and I have seen a warrior unit with javelins survive when they got charged, which they usually never do. So I was quite impressed with that. Yeah.
Yep, I think yeah, it's a rare though, so you need to be able to roll that one when you on the right time. So that's always a risk. But yeah, sure, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. I think that places it well. Next up is Tenacity, and I'm so sure there's another ability called Tenacity on like the Saxon board of Age of Invasions, right? Isn't there? Yeah, I think there's. Right, Tenacity. Melee or shooting reaction. Reroll up to 2 defense dice that did not cancel hits, or reroll up to 4 defense dice if it's used by a contingent unit. Keeping your unit of warriors with javelins alive with this and coordination, golden, nothing's gonna happen to them. Or keeping your, I don't know, warlord or Hearthguard on foot alive with this is probably also good.
Yeah, definitely play your Numidians as contingents here.
Yeah.
Pro tip
and have fun. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the last one is called redeployment. So this is either a common or a rare. It's an orders reaction. So choose 1 unit and activate it for a move with a maximum distance of short. Move 2 units if you use a rare. So again, orders reaction. So this is pretty good if you're doing your fake Numidians.
Yes.
So because then you can just pop them out of the medium range, which requires like a foot unit to basically move twice to catch you. So that is pretty amazing. Also, I guess moving up your kind of elephants, which are slow anyway, without catching a fatigue. It's probably a pretty good way of using this, right?
Yeah, I agree. And then I think this is just good for general like moving without taking a fatigue, and it's just a common. I think this is most played with just like the common, not the rare. So one unit per turn, and just having that extra move with, for example, your levies to get them into range to shoot, or with your heavy chariots to charge them in next turn without fatigue. I think since you can play this after you saw what your opponent put down, so you can kind of gauge whether they like trying to activate Hearthguard or warriors or levies or mix. And I think this is then after you can decide which unit you want to activate. I think that's strong.
Yeah, it's also the second multiple activation ability on this board. So
yeah, and we
like
that,
those. Yeah, those are just so good. You can find many different situations where they come in handy, and especially orders reaction. So you're kind of not putting extra fatigue on yourself. So Super good.
This is one of the boards where you can roll like 4 6s, and you would love that. That shit would be amazing. That turn would be bonkers good. And I think there's not that many boards that really love just the true 6s, not use them for rerolling. And this board does.
Yeah.
But it also works without them, of course.
Yeah. I mean, the sixes are nice little bonuses, but like,
Yes.
even with the commons, like you have really good abilities on the delay, the eagle eye, and the redeployment anyway. So
Agreed.
like,
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's super flexible in that aspect as well. So not only are you painting like tons of different models, you have loads of flexibility in terms of what you put down on the board. You're also maybe less hamstrung by your Saga dice rolls. So yeah, it's pretty sweet. I think overall, I think the only ability which we were maybe less impressed by were the was it combined tactics maybe and blood price. We're maybe had some questions about, and then the rest of the abilities we're just saying it's pretty damn good. So
agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a I would say this is probably one of the most flexible war bands which you can be
It's
playing.
incredible. Yes.
Like not
They
only
even one up the Romans on their flexibility for sure.
well, yeah, not only do you have a gigantic unit choice and you just flip them between citizens and contingents kind of at will. You have mounted guys with javelins, just normal regular mounted guys. You have chariots, you have elephants. Yeah, it's just a gigantic choice in terms of what you want to play. And obviously, you can, if you have like one or two other warbands, you can just kind of use in your Iberians and your Gauls, and then
which is amazing,
and just kind of paint up like a Carthaginian general, and you're pretty much good to go if you just need one more contingent unit, basically.
Yeah.
So,
it citizen.
Oh
it
yeah,
even
sorry,
says it in
citizen.
it even says it in the like faction text that feel free to use like the Gaulish, Iberian, and Numidian models because this is literally what they're trying to like what they represent. So go ahead. That's so cool.
Yeah, so this is super good, and probably no Carthaginian warband will look alike here.
Great warband, great battle board.
Yeah, I think it's also a very popular one in terms of what
Absolutely.
we've been seeing in kind of
Yeah.
the few tournaments that we have seen for Age of Hannibal. You want to maybe tell us a little bit like what you've seen and how you would create your Carthaginian warband?
Yeah, I'm quite comfortable that as always. I'm sorry, but I'm definitely biased towards warriors always, and this army composition just makes such a strong argument for more warriors as always, because having like 5 points warriors just means that this army can literally be whoever you want it to be. It's like that's a premium thing that you basically don't ever have because most armies, or basically almost every army, has the problem of being very good in some scenarios and very bad in other scenarios, because on some scenarios you need to be fast and in other scenarios you need to be durable. And this army can just swap between being a citizen army for being durable, or being a contingent army for being fast and deadly, or even play citizens fast and deadly. But yeah, if you take warriors, that's citizens are durable, and contingent can definitely be fast and deadly. So having like 5 points of warriors and maybe like an elephant unit or heavy chariots, whatever you prefer, I think is cool. I always like to bring some Hearthguard so my warlord doesn't die turn one. I hate that. So for me it would be 5 points, 5 points of just straight up warriors, and then 1 point of Hearthguard and the warlord. And then if you play like feasting and pillaging or something, you can just take almost all citizens and get in there early and just try to just stand there and survive everything, or like take 1 unit of contingents with your horses and javelins. And if you play change of plans, basically go all out, 5 points, horses, javelins, just run in on them, just kill them all you can with this board. And like there's I can't think of any other warband that can be so flexible towards playing this scenario. While like after you put down your overlist, it's incredible. So, and that flexibility comes from picking lots of warrior points, because they are the ones that can be exchanged between citizen and contingent. So that would be my advice, and I've played that before and I've seen it being played. I think that's very strong.
Yeah, definitely. You just need to like painting a lot.
It's a lot of painting.
Yeah, it's a lot of painting.
Yeah, of course. But it's also it's literally optimal. Like no other warband can do this.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you pay the price before the game.
No, if you rock up with all the options, you totally deserve it. So
For sure.
no hard
Yeah.
feelings there. Um, how do you? So you've said the 1 point of Hearthguard and then the rest warriors.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
what have you seen other people play?
I've seen elephants being taken because I think they have the ability with the combined tactics to keep the elephants alive and the ability with redeployment to move the elephants without taking the fatigue because they would move short anyway on um their second move. So I've seen like 2 elephants and then warriors. Uh, I'm not sure I've seen levies yet. I'm not sure they're super popular because they don't benefit a lot from the big multi-activation that activates 3 units that are elephants or mounted. Um, and redeployment, of course, can be okay, the other multi-activation, but they don't benefit at all from any of the stuff that's only for citizen or contingent units. So I have not seen those a lot. And then yeah, so I'm not sure the heavy chariots are worth it. Lots of times, I don't think I've seen them in a list yet. So elephants are probably the big contender for the warrior slots or for the warrior points here, to be honest.
Yeah, so lots of different options, lots of different models. So you can also reuse your model. So this is kind of like your probably like if you've painted a few Age of Hannibal warbands, you can kind of you've got automatically Carthaginian warband. So congratulations.
Yeah, one more thing. If you want to take Hannibal's dad, Hamilcar Barkas, then because he's free, and I know he's a legendary warlord, but sometimes they're allowed. He has he has citizen warriors with javelins, and that's gonna absolutely wreck shit with coordination with every citizen 6 inflicting 2 hits. So if he's allowed for your for your play group, since he's free and he's not really a huge upgrade. He's just different. I feel like Citizen Javelin Warriors is gonna be absolutely bonkers good. So
Nice.
just a side note there.
Yep, brutal. All right. I don't think we've actually spoken about the other legendary warlords. So
No, we haven't. But this one's
mention.
Yeah. Since the Carthage can do everything, I thought might as well give him a mention.
How would you rate Carthaginians? How many Hannibals, like out of 5, would you rate him?
Yeah, I'd give them 5 out of 5 Hannibals for their flexibility, and then 4 out of 5 for their abilities. So like 4.5.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah.
I think I would agree. This is probably one of the kind of just by their unit choices alone, one of the most flexible warbands. So you're never gonna be in a really bad matchup. So that's pretty good. All right, I think we're both big fans of the Carthaginians.
Yeah.
Probably gonna see a lot of them on the board.
When you look at like the Hannibal tournaments, there's always, I feel like 1/3 or like almost half is signed up as Carthaginians because once they get there, they can just decide if they want to be Gauls or Numidians anyways. it's quite powerful.
That's a good sales pitch there. Okay, I think we're coming to the end of Age of Hannibals. Obviously, Age of Alexander is coming up, so we're gonna.
Yes.
We're not entirely sure how we're gonna handle it yet because we're still lacking some games in terms of getting those warbands on the table. But we might do just a hot take episode once we get our grubby little hands on it.
Yeah, I already have it, but I guess you don't.
No, I don't. Deutsche Post is really screwing me over here.
Yeah. This is farewell to the Age of Hannibal, but not farewell to the Carthaginians yet, because we need to talk about model choices. I think I'm not gonna deliver a hot take here. Victrix just has everything.
Yeah, like so everything. This is Age of Vitris. I think we can just let's just say for the Age of Alexander, this is also falling in the Age of Victrix. So just go to their website and buy their stuff.
They even have everything in the right category, so you can just click Carthage and have like elephants and like all the contingent units and everything. It's ridiculous. It's so good.
But the sales pitch there. All right, if Victrix wants to sponsor us, go ahead. I actually quite like the gripping beast models of the Carthage as well, and then you can kind of throw in your other ones. I think they're, I think just it's just so much easier just to get plastic at this point in time than having to mess around with metal models. So I think it just makes it even me, someone who really enjoys metal models, I just find it so different to justify it in the end. But there are definitely some nice ones out there.
I'll definitely replay in like one of the upcoming episodes. I'll replay your first words toward plastic models on the first episode we did. You were like, "Nah, metal is king."
True,
but I guess
I've grown as a person.
Nice.
Just accepted plastic. Plastic is the future.
Cool.
All right. Thank you all very much for listening to this episode, and we'll catch you in a new age, the age of Alexander.
Thank you very much. I'm very much looking forward to it. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
We have a quick voicemail from one of our listeners. So Joe was kind enough to leave us some voicemail. Please check it out.
Hi guys, it's Joe here. Just wanted to say it's a great podcast. Really enjoying the activation phase, and keep it coming. I don't get much chance to record Northern Tempest these days, so we appreciate the effort and the time that you guys put in. I really enjoyed your talk on the Iberians recently. I've had some success using these guys, and I think you had a good analysis of the different abilities, and of course the power of that lovely gorilla ability, and all the combos you can do with it. So you mentioned that with perfect combos, the Iberians can do all sorts of nasty tricks in the opponent's turn, and they can even get more than 10 gorilla tokens in a turn by using some of those abilities that get you extra tokens. So repeated use of surprise attack can use up your gorilla tokens and get you some more in the opponent's turn. So you end up with more than 5 activations in the opponent's turn. Very nice, although I have to say it's very hard to pull off, and that surprise attack ability is one I've rarely used in practice, or rarely used effectively anyway. So yeah, the Iberians are brilliant. I kind of think Solid Furum was my favourite, getting your non-shooting units to be able to shoot with no fatigue and getting some extra gorilla tokens as well. I love that one. The kind of weakness of the Iberians for me was always that Saga dice, once you lost them, it was really hard to come back from that because they don't have that activation pool to gain the extra ones from their sixes, and once you were low on Saga dice, you really vulnerable. It's really struggled to get the gorilla tokens for Iberians. But overall, I think they're a pretty solid faction. I think Iberians are probably strong enough to stand against factions from any other age. They take on anyone. They could probably stand strong against Welsh or even the mighty Huns. So I wonder what you guys thought about the factions from Age of Hannibal in general. How good are they against the other Saga universes? Are they strong enough? Some people say they're a bit weaker, but I think kind of maybe they're all right. Maybe they're all right, but maybe we need to test it out a few more times. Okay, thanks guys. Keep making the podcast.